Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast, the greatest podcast in the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and submission grappling. I'm one half of the team, Tim Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me as always every week is...
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's no new Nico Ball, always fidgety. I don't know why I started the episode with my computer so far away from me, but, that's just Tim and me. So, whatever.
Well, as you can see, we are back in a studio setting. The Zoom era is dead and stinking. We are in an undisclosed location, Nico.
Undisclosed? Yeah, pretty much. It is kind of top secret.
It's a very top secret location, and we are live. I'm so pleased. I don't really give myself enough credit, and by virtue of that, I don't give us enough credit for how far we've come in our podcast journey, where we have nice microphones that you guys can all hear us on. I think
No.
We're not sure.
No, he was like, and I was recording it. Tim doesn't know, but Tim came from the bathroom, sat down before we started recording, and started talking about service people. It's because we met up where this undisclosed ocean is closer to DC, and we were supposed to pick up our brand new Shure microphones. So we bought a couple of them. We're gonna have some interviews to do. Yo, them joints are not here right now. So I hit up my boy, shout out to him, because we got a little discount on these mics, and appreciate that. The Goon Squad is strong. The community, when we talk about community, y'all look out in so many ways. So we were up in Best Buy. There was
oh my God.
You want to tell them about service people? You want to drop a little about service people?
Yes, I think that service people need to be paid more. I think if we pay them, each other more, there'll be less fuck-ups like this. Because I just don't understand why you guys say that you're going to be having the stuff ready on Saturday. Sometimes people pay extra for, earlier days, and your shit not be there.
And I actually thought between because we were going to get them shipped to Tim's house, and the guy was going through, he was checking the address, and he was taking forever trying to ship it to the house, and, people steal shit from the mail. So I was like, just have them take it to the store. It's easier that way, right? Because, it's Best Buy to Best Buy. And taking it to the store is a couple of days later, and then they don't even have it. And my friend was probably they didn't unload the truck. Nope, none of the managers are answering the phone at the store. So luckily, you should never have one of anything, is something Master Lloyd says. So we have backups, we have a way, and I'm just glad we're filming again together.
Absolutely. I'm happy that we're filming together. This is just the running gag of the podcast. There's always issues with the sound, and it drives me up a wall. It drives me crazy, but woosah, namaste, all that good stuff. I'm trying to be more stoic and stay calm and relaxed.
Yeah, stoicism's dope.
Yes, so with that said, thanks again for watching, and can you tell everybody the topic for today, Nico?
Can I tell you about the topic?
Can you?
I can. Let me pull out today. We're going to be going over something that Tim was mentioning on the Reels, something that he talks a lot about when he's developing his mind maps and things like that with his clients. Today, we're going to talk about it with you. We're going to talk about the importance of studying film. And I think this is really dope, as Tim not only studies film, but he studies film excessively, y'all. He is a nerd. He is methodical in what he does. So I think his perspective on what he looks for and how he breaks it down is really interesting. I was questioning it a little bit. It's that seems like a black belt thing, dog. Maybe what about the rest of us? Some of us lower belts, how is that really effective? And, he had some counter arguments and some good points. So we're going to go through some of those.
Okay. So I'm going to make a statement. If you have a question, if you have a retort, you can stop me at any time, Nico, because you are the voice of the people. And
if y'all have questions, drop them in the comments, because Tim actually checks the YouTube comments. I need to get on the YouTube comments. Tim checks the comments.
What's crazy about that? Side note, I put a timer Actually, I have focus mode on my phone, so I don't even go on social media, but probably right now, combined 30 minutes a day. So when I watch these comments, if I'm behind, I apologize, but yeah, I'll be watching the comments. So, let me know. Stop me. To answer your question, yes, you absolutely positively should be studying film. And it doesn't matter what belt rank you are. Not at all. I've been watching film a lot. I started watching film really since I started jiu-jitsu. I tried to watch as many matches as I could. And when I was competing more around blue belt, I was all in on studying film. Just as a matter of principle, you never want to go into a combat situation unprepared. And if you don't study film, you're not prepared. If you're going to spend all this money to compete, you should invest some time into knowing who you're going to be fighting against. Nico, anything you want to say before I go off?
It's like, I'm curious because, like you said, you've been studying film since you were a blue belt, and it's like, where were you getting this film as a blue belt? Because you didn't have flow grappling. It's like, now notably I understand, blue belts are acquiring the film because if you go to any major IBJJF event or semi-major, but that's only in majors. I know a ton of people in the DMV that don't leave the DMV. Like, they are US grappling world champion types.
Okay. When I was a blue belt, there was no flow. There was barely YouTube. There was DVDs. There was match footage that guys took on their own, on some shitty camcorders, back in the day when they first started having the MP4s and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't or I couldn't find any footage on the guys that I might fight, and back then they didn't have it, I watched competitors at the highest level, black belt, Pan Ams, Worlds, and I studied what they did. And if I knew there was a guy that had my style, I would watch matches that they won and they lost to find the holes. So if they got holes in their game or they have certain attacks that go real well for them and they have a similar style that I have, especially if they have a similar body type, I'm going to study that. That's considered studying film, because even if you don't know who you're competing against, which modern times, that's not a good enough excuse. If there isn't footage of the guy you're going to compete against, which modern times, there is no excuse, well then you should be able to improve tremendously. You should be able to be prepared for whatever someone might bring towards you. That's if you put the time in.
All right, so I think that's interesting because when you say study footage, you always assume study like your opponent's footage, but you're not necessarily talking about your opponent's footage.
If I can't find it, now if I can find them, you can just go look at the reel and look at my process. You can go on the reel and look at it, but basically what I do, I look at the competitor list, then I Google the names of the people on the list, and I start doing sleuthing. I go to their social media. I compare what they look like, their team, their division. I look at their footage, and I do the same thing I do before. That's it. Watch what they did well. Watch what they don't do so well. Then I make a game plan.
That makes sense.
Any questions so far?
No, you're breaking it down pretty easily.
Yeah, that's my process. Like, people say that they don't want to study film because it's just martial artists are really delusional. Truly. Because every other sport, you study film.
That makes sense.
The best athletes ever studied film.
High school football players used to spend a lot of time. They had a day dedicated to studying film.
So Tom Brady, Michael Jordan study film. Why can't you? And, I get it. You want to flow, be like water. But guys that are like water, they studied film and they prepared for those situations. That's all. That's all I got to say about it. I think you should definitely watch film. Any questions, though?
So now that if you're not actively competing, do you still study film?
I study film when I'm doing breakdowns for the Patreon, patreon.com/BJJ GOONS. But that's when I study film.
That's about it. And then you just translate. But I realize that you study wrestlers as well now, because you're making that little transition. When we were doing our photo shoot, I heard you talking with somebody, and then you mentioned how you were studying different people or different, I don't know if you can say this in like ACAB or AFAB or whatever, but different characters. I don't know if it's blasphemous to say that on a platform somewhere. AFAB. Kayfabe. Damn, I'm trying to be a valet.
I don't know what that word means, honestly. I study footage of wrestlers that I might compete against. I study guys that are legends. I study people that are where I want to be. And because of that, I've improved tremendously. And that was what I did in jiu-jitsu. You got to study how people carry themselves, all the little things that you can improve upon. I think a lot of people learn that way. I think that's how everybody learns. You learn by watching. And then you learn by mimicking, or you learn from the things other people do and the success. And if you want to be successful in a competitive field, you have to accelerate that learning curve. And you have to really fully immerse yourself into what you're doing. We have eyes for a reason, because we have to see. And for me, I always learn visually. Like, you could tell me certain things, you can explain it, but unless I can see it and let it be ingrained in my mind, I'm not going to learn it very fast. I couldn't imagine a black belt world champion or a world-class caliber athlete not going into worlds and seeing what these guys do. Just by
visualizing too. I mean, remember Gabby Pasania, she was talking about, and she just became world champion, 2-time absolute and weight. And she made a post talking about how she watched a video of somebody that IBJJF posted, and then she's like, and afterwards I just visualized what it would be like, my first fight as a black belt in the pyramid, what it would feel like to win, and like really going through it.
Master Lloyd told us about visualization all the time. The best sports psychologist, all the books that I read about it, they all talk about visualization. And yes, you could say that I want to be prepared and have my mind be free, and I hear that argument a lot. And, sometimes, even for myself, I'll step away. I won't watch the shit.
Competitions? Or at the competition when?
Sometimes I just won't. There have been times where I just didn't watch jiu-jitsu. I just trained, and I went home.
And that's most people all the time, or, yeah.
But prior to that, I had overdone it. So I still put the time in. That's the longest I've ever been without watching film. When I was competing actively, I'd at least watch one match a day, maybe. Now, I wasn't thoroughly studying, but the point I was trying to make, if you're fully immersed, you're watching.
I feel like more people dedicate time to watching techniques than they do studying film. Maybe it's like their ego.
I think that's kind of foolish. I think it's kind of foolish just to sit and watch techniques, because you could watch 1,000 technique videos, but unless you actually attempt it, it ain't worth a damn. I am a guard passer. I'm a thrower. And I could watch those techniques that Rafa Mendes does.
Oh, I love to watch his highlight video.
I love to watch the highlights. I like looking at the technique videos. But it's not applicable to me. And I would get more out of just watching footage of what I'm actually going to do. And if you like techniques, that's cool. But if you're watching Rafa, for instance, and he's showing how to do a berimbolo, how many damn times you going to watch the technique videos, or how many different ways someone is doing a berimbolo?
I like to watch Rafa's highlight, and I think there was a specific one where he is just stunting on people, and I like to watch it to hype myself up before training. I like to channel that kind of energy, but I also recognize what moves that I can execute or I can't. It's just kind of I want to channel that energy into the game that I have.
That's cool. But if I was going to compare, if I'm watching match footage, I could see the practical application to it. Mm-hmm. Because unless you have truly mastered these techniques, 9 times out of 10, when these attacks, even the guys that you're watching demonstrate the move are doing in real life, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to look that pretty. And there's going to be steps in between that they don't go over in the video.
Them transitions. I love, nobody teaches transitions, and that's when I shouldn't even say that. I was like, that's when I attack. I shouldn't let y'all know. It's like I focus on those transitions.
Hey, and there's little stuff that if you were to ask them after the match, they probably wouldn't even know. Mm-hmm. They show a highlight periodically of when I fought Gutenberg Pereira at Worlds a few years ago, and I just went on this crazy sequence. It was like some Dragon Ball Z shit where they hit them with the combo like pop, 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 pop. The jiu-jitsu equivalent. I couldn't tell you the names of the shit I was doing. I couldn't. If I broke it down, I probably could, but I couldn't really tell you what it was and whether or not if I did it on purpose. It was just from training and putting the time in.
That muscle memory.
The muscle memory. So that cool shit you see is very hard to replicate because a lot of it is flowing and it's having black belt fundamentals.
I think it's the fundamentals.
Yes.
Yeah, once you master those little transitions and what you do in certain situations, it kind of fills in the blanks. But I wanted to read this quote that Kieran, how do you say Kieran's last name? Keichik. So Lock and Strangle on Instagram. He's tearing it up. He posted something a day ago. It says skill acquisition. It is learning/repetition, then understanding context, and then live application. So to me, I think understanding context is what you get when you're actually watching film. And then learning repetition, I think that's what you more when you're watching YouTube videos, but it doesn't help unless you're kind of bringing them into and practicing it. But then still to me, that's still coach nobody telling you, because nobody's there to tell you if you're doing the transitions right. Nobody's there to tell you if you saw what you saw on YouTube and you're doing it correctly. So I try to stay away from anything on YouTube if I can't take it back to a person and certify it.
Yeah. You need that oversight. Coach Nobody is the worst coach ever. So many guys think they know better, are going to do it their way, but they're learning from themselves and they never done the shit. Once you get to a certain level, I think you're able to kind of coach yourself. I wouldn't recommend it even if you were the best guy ever, because you still need that second pair of eyes. But man, unless you've been there or unless you've done it, you can't really say, you can't really know. Mm-hmm. And then you have to self-reflect.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we can't do as athletes very well, is do some self-reflection.
You have to self-reflect, but you also need that input from outside sources.
Exactly.
We can't do it well. You need to do it. Just realize it's lacking.
And then someone has to tell you, a neutral observer, this is fucked up. And then if you want to coach, if I ever decide to really seriously coach people, I'm going to learn under the coaching learning tree, not the athlete learning tree, because being able to coach is a totally different skill set. But I'm a little off topic, but I think
we're on topic. Yeah.
but if I'm learning, if I'm trying to study film, I'm trying to study my opponent, I also need that backup, because I'll always double check with somebody if I'm in competition mode. Mm-hmm. If I'm with Ty, I'll say, Ty, like, what do you think about this guy? Have you watched their footage? And we're lucky that we have high-level black belts in there that can give us that second set of eyes. But if you don't, you can always hire me at timspriggsbjj.com. Mm-hmm. I can be your virtual coach, your mentor. I do match critiques. If you're a competitor, I watch your footage and break it down to you, John Madden style. I also do game plans for people. You know, we talk about studying our opponents and studying ourselves. Well, I can do that for you, and I can create a game plan with your best techniques from your best positions so you get the best results, which is gold medals. Along with that, I teach seminars and private lessons there, all at timspriggsbjj.com.
You best not try to end this episode right now, because I got another question. All right. It's like that was just a transition to an ad. I'm so used to that being the end, you know? No. Was there another question I had before I asked this first question? No, loading it up. So you talked about the importance of studying your partner's film. We talked about, I was going to mention, it's like I was cleaning out my Gmail and I found a video and I wasn't sure. It was me and a gi, and it looked like I was at 301, and I watched it. And it's me speaking Portuguese, but apparently what I'm doing is I was drilling with somebody or training with somebody, and this girl had a question that she asked me. I was like, I don't know. Because, like, if you want to go as far as, like, TLI, like, Master Lord always tell you, you're a blue belt. You ain't supposed to be telling nobody nothing. Like, you drill, and then they go ask the teacher. And, like, apparently what I was doing is I was filming a video asking the question in Portuguese to have sent to somebody. It could have been maybe Ataídes or Fabricio Terere's cousin. But that was clearly me, like, being like, all right, we're having an issue here. It's time to seek professional help, not try to muddle through it as blue belts. Yeah. But going back, too, you talked a lot about studying opponents, and one thing that I know Master Lloyd told me to do even before I was on the team and I needed help training, which was studying my own footage, and not just in competition, but taking footage of training, whether it be rolls, whether it be doing specific things where you're just passing or just playing guard for an extended period of time, so you can see your habits and what you're doing and then go back and study that. So do you ever do, or did you do any of that?
Yeah.
Training specific, though, not competition.
Oh, my training footage? I did a little, a few times. But that was around the time that I was kind of burned out from watching it. Because if you're training full time, and I was doing 2-a-days, and sometimes it's not 2 jiu-jitsu training sessions. Sometimes it's strength and conditioning. It's kind of hard for me to separate it. I need, like, me time. So I kind of didn't watch it as much. But when I did, I picked up little things. I think that your training footage you should watch, yes. But I don't think it's as necessary as your competition footage. Because some people, like myself, I like to be more free-flowing in practice. Like, I'll go for the shit, but it's not a proper representation. And we're training partners, so it's a different type of energy exchange.
What the hell are you talking about? I have seen y'all try to... You talk about DJ impaling you. I've seen how training is at TLI, and you're going to be like, it's a different kind of energy when ML tells y'all both to go out there and kill each other? If y'all turn it up even more in competition, then let me throw this drink down. I quit. But like,
I think my more recent training environment and my training philosophy was that to be more free flowing and not so stuck on a game.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me reintroduce you guys to Hotep Tim.
No, it's not Hotep shit. I'm serious.
It's okay.
There's a different energy exchange out there because we're still not trying to fuck each other up, and we're still going for shit. Well, like not injure. Like when I'm in competition mode, like
you
I'm
and
like,
Muhammad mode. Just you and Muhammad. Okay, whatever. That's just like a personal. Okay.
It's just
He
because
says
we're
flowing.
giant humans. Well, he's giant. I'm like normal size.
I respect your opinion, but I feel like, especially for people that don't compete a lot, you need to like really take the value. I think, and not just I think, I've heard this. I've heard this from.
If it's in your job, but it's like a serious hobby, yeah, go ahead, go for it. You know, I would suggest that you do it. But for me, like if I had to film every practice,
all right, you don't have to film every practice. Let's go back to like a blue belt Tim. You don't have money to pay the black belt Tim for like a mind map. You're trying to like advance your understanding of jiu-jitsu and your training and to get a better understanding, like to figure out your game. I know when I do stuff, I never remember. Like I black out. Like
really?
Yeah, I can't recreate anything from the moment. Like I can't. So like for me, if I have a question, like I need to stop in the minute. You know how people stop their roll and then they go over to the coach and they're like, "Oh, when I'm in this position, how do I get out of this?" I can't do that. I can't.
I have like a photographic memory for shit.
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying,
like,
and that's where it's like
shit. Like I have very good memory. Like if I actually done it, yeah. And also, what might help me too is that when I train, I'm very consistent. Like even wrestling. When I'm training consistently, I just get in a groove and I just remember the sequences more. If you train sporadically, it's not going to stay in your head as much.
No, I do like it's very hard for me to be conscious. So yeah, so now we're breaking it down. So it's like as a blue belt, you don't have that knowledge. I think, and not that I think this is like something that I've recorded some black belt giving in a paid course. Just being able to write down your game, what you do, and also analyzing your training partner's game. Like, can you like what your training partners do, but can you really, as Tim would do, like mind map it out? Like what's the first thing that they're going to do on foot? Like if we bring it into like one of my training partners, Roya does a lot. Like she will attack you like an angry pit bull. She loves to shoot in. She's got that little nasty ankle pick, but she'll also grab your collar and yank that stuff. I'm not sure how many judo throws, but there's been like this practice to like go through, can you map out your partner's games, what you do against it, or are you just doing everything unconsciously? And I think that's more like of an exercise of being aware of what you're doing at the lower belts. I think maybe by the time you get to a black belt, you're a little bit more complicated. You have a more perception of that, but I know I am definitely one of those people that I'm not aware of what I'm doing. Like I have to force myself to be in the moment.
Wow. I mean, that's a common thing, you know, having to force yourself to be in the moment. And at Blue Belt, I would have benefited greatly from recording that shit. Like recording every session. Yeah, I think I would benefit from that. And it's easier, too. I sound like an old timer, but, you know, things were a lot harder back in my day when I was coming up in the game.
Yeah.
We
had cassette tapes.
Yeah, cassette tapes. Lucky to have any kind of competition footage. You had to actually buy the DVD. You couldn't even go and pirate your friend's Flow account. You couldn't do any of that. You know, if you wanted supplements, you had to go to the store and buy them. You couldn't just get them online. You know, there weren't steroid dealers at every major gym like there is in jiu-jitsu. And like if you wanted to meal prep, shit, man, you had to cook the food yourself. But nowadays, you don't have to.
All right. And speaking of meal prep, to close off this episode, we have one last question from the Blue Belt.
I was actually going to do an ad read.
Yeah, I know you were good. Other than John's Fit Meals.
Use promo code BJJ Goons at John's Fit Meals. They are the best meal prep company in all of combat sports. I love their breakfast burritos. I love their carne asada. So many calories in each of these meals. Wholesome calories. Get you big and buff. Like your boy here. For those of you listening, you can't see me. I got double guns right now.
What's that discount code again?
BJJ Goons.
Okay, and then after you get your meal plan right, question from a white belt. Yeah. Been practicing maybe 3-4 months, maybe a little bit longer. They're about to amp up their jiu-jitsu. They actually do a little bit of Muay Thai too, but we're not going to recognize the Muay Thai on the BJJ Goons podcast. They're about to do a little personal training, try to get the muscles up. They want to know like what kind of supplement recommendations. And I say only after you get the John's Fit meal, because supplements are to supplement a healthy diet. What supplements do you like to take?
Well, when I was when out at Monster Makers, they're basically like NFL guys that want to go to NFL. I used to get this big bottle of mass gainer, so I could put on like just fill me up and make me bigger and stronger, help me, and that helped for a little bit. But what I use now is Orgain protein. It's like organic vegan protein that I use after I lift weights. John's Fit Meals, actually, I eat those all the time. Like, very good food, healthy food with all the macros. That has been a savior for me, to be honest. My diet helps a lot. I don't really need to use too many supplements, man. I'll drink a pre-workout every once in a while, like those weird, they're like Red Bulls, but like bodybuilders and people use them. You go to any of these musclehead gyms like I go to, they got the little store in the front. Like, I'll drink those, but man, quality sleep, John's Fit Meals, healthy food.
You never do any BCAAs or glutamine for like muscle recovery?
No, I do yoga. I do yoga every
Tim,
day.
this is real. He's denied. Hotep Tim. This is Hotep Tim. I seen the Mushmaster at the photo shoot.
Yeah.
That wrestling type. This is definitely a Hotep Tim. This is not Hotep Tim. But the answers are not wrong. Like, that holistic thing is way better. This person that asked, I know they wake up and they stretch and they do yoga too. That's important.
One more thing. I got the book The Supple Leopard, and I use their exercises too.
I asked to borrow that. Yo, he said, hell no.
I actually used the book.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just said borrow, not keep it forever. Let me hold it for a week.
You don't let people borrow things that you care about.
We see each other all of the time, but whatever.
I'm just saying, like, I need
That's
the
how
book.
valuable the book
That's
is.
how
The Supple
valuable the
Leopard.
book
I know
is.
it's valuable. It's like $40, but it is a really good book.
It is I you got to, I think the holistic approach is better. Like, you taking a whole bunch of supplements and, you're just taking powder, but you get those nutrients and you're full. And then, like, some people just drink all the protein shakes they want, still don't have the results they want physically because they're not eating real food.
Yeah.
And, I never took performance enhancing drugs in my life. I never plan to. I mean, never, I can't say never will because no one can predict the future, but I never plan on it. I'm not a big supplement guy. So yoga, exercises from the Supple Leopard, John's Fit Meals, and drinking a gallon of water a day. I think that is huge. I technically don't drink a gallon of water a day. I have a little bit of, no, I do drink it, but I use, what's that one? Liquid IV. Lemon lime. And that's it.
All right. One last thing before we close out, I want to just emphasize that the book he's talking about, Becoming a Supple Leopard, weird title. The basis is that leopards don't need to stretch before attacking. Like, they're always warmed up. So that's the idea. Like, your body should always be in a state of, like, not pain like we're always in. So it is a great book on ways to stretch, mobility for different parts of your hip, what you should do if something hurts. And that's the value of that expensive yet valuable book. Anything else before we close out?
No. That is it.
All right. Y'all can find me on Instagram at No New Nico. I've been dropping a lot of reels for Portuguese for BJJ. So all of y'all that are trying to learn Portuguese but on Duolingo studying all this random vocabulary, you can go to favelajujitsu.com and find actual vocabulary lists that have verbs for jiu-jitsu, body parts, different techniques, things like that, and then slide on over to my Instagram to see how to kind of apply it to your training.
You can find me at timspriggsbjj.com. I can be your virtual coach. And you can see me at timspriggsbjj at Instagram and Facebook, or Mushmaster Wins on Twitter. On behalf of Nico, I'd like to say thanks for watching. And until the next time, peace.
All right, hold on.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that.